Well, so I did say that I would finish off the guidance that I started covering in that stream that I did the other day. Wasn't really too keen on doing it in stream format purely on the basis that I just don't want it to go on for as long as that stream did. But I won't rule out doing a stream again in the future if that's what people wouldn't mind seeing. Because I actually didn't mind doing it. It was just began to drag on a bit towards the end. But the overhanging consensus throughout that document from the parts that I did read up until about the page 40 odd mark, 42, 43, was there was a lot of emphasis on behavioural change. That was the common theme throughout it. It's about modifying and changing your behaviour, and if you already changed your behaviour in order to live by the rules that were in place at the time, continue to do so. You know, that and the backdrop of the climate change narrative, which is raging on, just in the next committee room, essentially, through the wall, they're also talking about behavioural change. So it's really is the talk of the town now, and it's gone from me noticing a few references here and there in the odd video that the YouTube channel would upload to it becoming so in your face now that I'm pretty sure everyone could see it, you know. But the first video that I watched today on the Scottish Parliament's YouTube channel, and literally within 9 minutes, I was confronted with this I had to screenshot it. Jenny Gilruth. This is about behavioural change, and it was the only reference to it in this debate that they were having about again, councils being able to implement parking taxes, etc. And obviously the argument, it was getting a bit boring, to be honest. The argument, as usual, or the deflection I should say from herself there, was that the SNP are just giving the councils the ability to implement it if they wish, they don't have to, etc. Whereas one of the many arguments that was getting thrown back, it was just a back and forth, essentially, with nothing really being concluded at the end. Or they're no further forward anyway. They both share different opinions, the same opinions that they have when they went in. But one of them was that this is not really the time to be implementing additional charges to people's lives, etc. So, which I can see the argument for when they continuously tell us about this skyrocketing cost of living that's coming our way pretty soon. So I do think in that respect it's a bit fucking daft. But then the counter argument to that was, well, the whole parliament signed up to climate change targets, so we need to start doing more. And they can just do what they want and say it's for climate change. But so anyway, though, behavioural change. This is the common theme of the day, essentially. So I was on around about page 40ish, and I've got that open here, and I've got quite a few other tabs open because of other stuff that I've come across today in relation to behavioural change. Not that I've done a particular deep dive on the subject, because to my knowledge, it's not that the term itself is a new concept, but as far as it goes with the SNP and the Greens are concerned, it must be relatively new. So maybe there is a lot of information out there, but I don't really want to talk too much more about behavioural change if it's all the same, so I'm not going to be doing that much of a deep dive today if it's all the same. But that being said,
interrupted. I do agree that the rollout of electric vehicle infrastructure has a role to play in this. Now, on the 26th of January, we announced a new draft vision for that public charging network, along with plans for a £60 million fund that will double the size of the public network over the next few years by leveraging commercial investment. And measures to make public transport more efficient and affordable have also been a priority. And I know Mr Simpson made mention of this in his opening remarks. Additionally, that's highlighted in our route map to reduce car use, which was published last month. That includes, though, through the provision of free bus travel under the under-22s and our fair fares review, which I think is hugely important in that regard, which will consider options for change against a background where the costs of car travel are declining and public transport costs are increasing. We are also investing record amounts in active travel, but we also need to get folk out of their cars. This is about behaviour change, Presiding Officer.
I mean, I did cover this about 3 weeks ago, a few of the publications that they started unveiling, and there was heavy emphasis again on behavioural change. And there was, I'll play the other clip as well, because I just thought it's just getting really bizarre at this point that they're just actively talking in your face as well. I mean, this isn't all done in privacy. Anybody can go and view these conversations that are taking place. They're actively talking about ways that they plan or things that they're intending to implement or they're debating on implementing, and it's all being done on the grounds of trying to change your fucking behaviour. Now, obviously, in this instance, when they're in this debate in particular, this is just about getting you out of the car, but as I've alluded to before, it's And there's a lot more to it than that. It's about living your low carbon life, living a sustainable life, etc. So I'm sure that will all come to fruition in due course when they start upping the ante when it comes to behavioural change. But for the time being, we're stuck between COVID behavioural change and car or behavioural change to get you out of your car. You know.
Sorry. The Tories are the self-proclaimed party of choice, are they not? Or are they selective in this regard? Local authorities can choose if they want to introduce the levy and when, if they do decide that. The choices we make in this place can drive behavioural change.
Yeah, so no longer is it just noticing a little pattern. It's pretty blatant at this point. And obviously the video that I made yesterday, where I went over the remainder, or before I made the video I should say, I went over the remainder of the questions that were posted in Lips after she gave that speech that I covered at the start of the stream the other day. And like again, it was behavioural change. And obviously the scapegoating of vulnerable people came up quite often, but it was again a lot of references to behavioural change. So it's really in your face at this point.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. A constituent who is immunocompromised recently got in touch to say that she's had very little antibody response to the COVID vaccination and is choosing to continue to shield. Subsequently, she hasn't seen her family or friends since the start of the pandemic, has become unemployed, and this is all having a negative impact on her mental health. It's not fair that as life begins to return to normal for many of us, those like her who are immunocompromised are forced to choose to continue isolating. What can the First Minister say to my constituent and people like her? And can she tell me whether the Scottish Government has considered introducing any antibody therapies for pre-exposure prophylaxis, such as AstraZeneca's Evusheld, to protect immunocompromised people from the effects of COVID-19?
First Minister. I will write to the member or ask the Health Secretary to write to the member with more detail of what I'm about to say, because I'm only going to say it on summary basis right now. There is some JCVI advice on further boosters for people who are immunosuppressed or compromised, and that may, I don't know, be helpful in this case. I also set out in my statement earlier in the week some of the new developments around treatments and the work the Scottish Government is doing to ensure that those treatments are getting to people who need them most. Treatments are already being delivered to people who need hospital care, but we are now seeing treatments delivered to people who don't need hospital care but may be at risk of that. And there are new oral therapies being trialled right now, and I'm sure the points about antibodies is an important part of that. The last point I would make here, which is a point I sought to make on Tuesday in my statement, is that we cannot and we should not tolerate a situation where the majority of us can get back to normal, but a minority feel that they need to continue to shield. And that is why I do say to people that as we get back to normal, we all have to show collective responsibility and solidarity. So for those of us who may be frustrated with it, who choose, for example, still to wear face coverings, we are making it more possible for those who are most vulnerable to also get back to normal. We mustn't allow a two-tier society to be the one that is created as we recover from COVID. But that takes responsibility and sacrifice on the part of all of us, and I hope everybody across the country will take that seriously.
So in essence, that was another way of saying behavioural change. You know, I mean, yeah, it sucks for the women in question or anybody that's suffering from anything like that, but how's that our fault? You know, so again, this begs the question as far as I'm concerned, why are they lifting all these restrictions in the first place if they're so insistent on us changing our behaviour to pretend that they haven't bothered to lift the restrictions in the first place? I don't understand. Why don't you just keep them in place? I'm not complaining, because I have no intention of following them anyway, but the point is the same. Why are we being constantly reminded that we need to continue to adapt and change our behaviour to follow rules that once upon a time were there essentially placed in law and or guidance, and now that they're being lifted to a certain extent, we're still being told to follow them as if they haven't been? What's the fucking point? A two-tier system, you know? I suppose if you look at it from the perspective of somebody who buys into this narrative hook, line and sinker, or even if you just believe in COVID, you might see the point there, but from the perspective of somebody such as me who thinks it's a load of shit, I just feel sorry for these people because they've been made to feel so fucking terrified of leaving their house. And that's the government, as far as I'm concerned, have done that, and the people that pull their strings and write their scripts. You know? that have made these people feel that they can't leave their own house, but instead the government drill us. Oh, you need to change your... Why do I need to change my fucking behaviour because somebody won't leave their house? You know what I mean? And again, the waffle about masks and all this shit. Anyway, so there's one more clip, obviously. This is from the BBC, the Scottish equivalent of Question Time. There's a guy in there, and I mean, he's just definitely there to foreshadow the future, because obviously there's going to be a lot more of the behavioural change and adoption, etc. coming our way. But I think until it's officially announced out loud by thin lips, you know, they're not coming out with the whole shebang straight away. You'll be eased into it, phased into it, you know. I'm just using her words, you know. Phase, we'll be phased towards it, you know. If they present too much of what will be required all at the one time, you know, to save the planet, my arse is to save the fucking planet, right? This is all about control, always has been. And it's pretty crystal clear it's about control. You know, because if they don't control you, the planet will burn to a cinder. But you take the planet out of the equation and it's still control. But, yeah, it's almost as if he's there to foreshadow what he starts talking about. You know, fucking hell, so you really feel, pal. So I'll get to that soon. So obviously, supporting positive behaviour and adoption was the last sort of segment that was touched upon, and I think I did get a few pages down, if I'm not mistaken. I should probably just go and check the end of this stream. No, it was there. It was next steps. That's where I got to. And then obviously I've got Arika COVID stuff. Up on the screen as well, because there was something that I came across. This is the document. I can get rid of that, right? But there was something that I came across purely by chance while I was looking through. You know, you end up clicking on quite a few things on the government's website if you're like me, that way inclined, a bit of a nosy prick at times. Is it this one? No, it must be here. Adoption to climate change. You know, this right. Fucking typical. So, at least. Oh wait. There's no excuse for him to do the video. If I was doing this on a live stream, this would have been, like, you know, okay. People would have just been like, he's lost his place. But I shouldn't really be doing this recording a fucking video. But oh yeah, here we go. So this section here, so this is about resources and whatnot, right? But it's climate change, so low carbon living, making Scotland's world leading, and they love bumming themselves a bold, ambitious world leading. You know, so world leading, in fact. It might be ambitious, quote unquote, right? So world leading that such great targets that they keep failing them. Every year they've failed their targets for the last 3 or 4 anyway. You know, talk a good fucking talk, you thin lip twat. But nonetheless, when so you climate week, right? So it's a climate. Oh wait, no, sorry. So, in September 2021, we published Net Zero Nation, a public engagement strategy for climate change, right? The strategy makes a new chapter in our people-centred approach to climate change policy, outlining our framework for engaging the public and communities on climate change, ensuring a green recovery from COVID. Yeah. It signifies a step change in how we understand the role of public engagement in climate change, moving from encouraging incremental changes in attitudes and behaviours to supporting a society-wide transformation. It also includes a commitment to meaningful participation, including with those people and communities most affected by our transition, right? So then you've Climate Week, which is aiming to raise awareness of climate change and to encourage us all to consider the actions required from all sections of society in order to achieve a net zero society, right? So, and then resources, and they've got their new website, which I've not clicked on. Sorry, I got a message there on Telegram. Fuck's sake, good. Make me lose my train of thought here. He did this to me when I was doing the live stream as well. Like, it's almost as if he knows I'm recording a video. Put me off my stride. I'm telling you, the two of them are just jealous of me. You know, I did my first live stream, fucking top-notch professional. I make videos like nobody else's business. You know, and Clive Chance just can't handle it. So he's always trying to put me off. You know. I'm the kingpin around here, you cunt. Right, so, but I don't want to drag on too much, but this bit here, right? We created the Individual, Social and Material Tool in 2013, so this is way back 2013, to help key policy areas, local authorities, environmental organisations and communities to develop initiatives for implementing low-carbon behaviours, right? It enables us to measure progress by identifying relevant factors and looking at how they change over time. They've also produced influencing behaviours and shifting normal, which is down here. Influencing behaviours. So I know you click on, where was it? Where did it go? Wait, aye. I can't believe what I was saying. What the fuck? Like, they've got websites dedicated to talking about behaviour. This is fucking insane. I mean, they're really going all out in order to totally transform how you live your life, view the world. You know, going after the kiddie winks with the educational aspect, and they're just going after the adults by completely changing the way you view the world and how you behave, how you live your life, where you live, what you eat. There are many different theories which help us to understand behaviour and change, drawn from many different disciplines, but there are fewer practical tools which allow practitioners to mobilise that theory and apply it in developing and delivering behavioural change interventions. I could not believe it. Websites dedicated to behavioural change, you know, it goes on and on and on. But I'm not going to go too much into that. I just that was just baffling coming across that. And then obviously 20-minute neighbourhoods. There are places that this was in their manifesto, of course. These are places that are designed so residents can meet their day-to-day needs within a 20-minute radius. Through access to safe walking and cycle routes or by public transport. Many places around the world have made commitments or drawn up plans to support the realisation of this concept. However, only a few have made 20-minute neighbourhoods a reality. The Programme for Government 2020 commits the Scottish Government to working with local government and other partners to take forward the ambitions for the 20-minute neighbourhood in Scotland. Now, there's a lot more talk of it taking place this year as opposed to when they were first announced it in 2020. But the project considers the ambition for 2020 for 20-minute neighbourhood, right? So obviously to put that in the layman's terms, or to shorten that, what that really boils down to is you'll have everything that you could ever require and desire, apparently, allegedly, in a 20-minute, maybe 30, you know, give or take radius. Why? So you don't fuck off anywhere in the car, of course. So you stay local. But a lot of people have been conditioned to do that anyway, whether that be via the hybrid working that they're now introducing, or whether it just be because of the fact that they've got used to the fact that there's no point in travelling anywhere because they'll probably contract COVID, or worse to that effect. You know, you get what I'm saying. It's become so normalised now to remain relatively local for most people. Whether it's for work-related purposes or just in general. So the 20-minute neighbourhood just kind of fits in nicely now for a bunch of people that are already used to the fact that they ain't really going to go anywhere. So there's that. 17 minutes in and I've still fucking... Oh no, 40 pages of this crap. But so, anyway. It says here, this is where I got today. So, hopefully now that I'm doing it in video format, I can cut out some of the absolute waffle. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to read every single paragraph verbatim. There's just absolutely no point, because as we established last time, and when I say we, I'm hoping that people are actually tuning into the video, that watch the stream, because I'm only doing this because I said that I would show the guidance to the people that are watching the stream, tuned in and whatnot. So I don't know, if they didn't go and read it themselves, then here you go. You know, some people prefer it in video format as opposed to going and reading it themselves. I'll be honest with you, I know I fucking do. So anyway, the coof will not suddenly go away, and it is likely that the virus will present us with further challenges over the months and years ahead. We can all play a part in reducing the risks posed by the coof in a proportionate way. Doing so collectively will help us all live safely, and of course in a sustainable way. You know, the first question that was posed to Thin Lips at the question time, First Minister's questions today, was from Douglas Ross, referring to some NHS report that's come out. I can't remember how he worded it. I'm not going to play it for the purpose of time consumption, but her response, I guess, wasn't behavioural change this time, was my shock, but she mentioned sustainable twice. So yeah, sustainable is another talking point that's becoming so prevalent. But we know why that is. You know, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure that one out, or a Sudanese brain surgeon if we go by Mr. Scotland is a bowl of salad, or whatever the fuck he said. Looking forward, we want the progress from people having to adhere to a set of rules that help to reduce the spread of the coof towards embedding a set of positive behaviours that people and organisations voluntarily undertake because they believe they are the right thing to do. So we're getting rid of the rules, but we're hoping that the conditioning has worked by now, and if it hasn't, we will just continue to pest you, bug you, and remind you on a daily basis that there's vulnerable people that you need to take into consideration. So you need to adapt your behaviour anyway. So instead of the rules being in place, you're doing it off your own accord. So I was kind of right in my hypothesis when I was doing the stream, or was it the video I did yesterday? I can't even remember. Where I said something to the effect of, it's almost as if they're lifting the rules to see if they're testing the water, see if they can now see if people will still do what they were meant to be doing or what they were doing prior, but off their own accord now, off their own volition. And that's kind of what that paragraph is suggesting. They want you to do the exact same fucking thing that you were doing when the rules were in place, if you followed them, that is. But this time you're doing it of your own accord. I really understand why that makes a difference, but I think why they're doing this, if you ask me, and I could be really just speculating here, but, you know, I haven't been half wrong in regards to the behavioural change shit, so, you know, give me some credit, I guess, if you want to go. Really don't. But I think that this could be because what's coming next will be a lot more emphasis on behavioural change as they try to change our it will lead to culminate in micromanagement in years to come. I would hypothesize maybe even a year or two to come, but that is the end goal of the climate change narrative or agenda, will be total micromanagement of your life. But in order to get you to that place, they have to sort of condition you into a position where you're willingly following rules that you think are right. So then when they start to introduce more suggestions in order to, you know, to live sustainably, etc., as it says there, I've highlighted it for you, you know, in a sustainable way for the Sustainable Development Goals, climate change, etc., there'll be new rules, new suggestions, but they'll want you to follow or abide these rules and adapt, etc. yourself. That's what I think might be going on here. That makes sense to me. And, you know, I'm pretty sure about 10 minutes ago I said it, I couldn't make sense of it. I think. I don't know. It might have been in the stream. You know, it's all a blur. It's all a fucking blur. But I did at some point say that it didn't make sense to me. Why didn't they just keep the rules in place? And now I think I might have just solved the puzzle. Or if I haven't, I've at the very least put a relatively credible theory into the fray. So anyway, it then goes on to say, don't be a dick. Ah, man, I hate the mouse here, like, unless I can piss about with this. No, not really. Right, sorry. It's about that. Safe space. Fucking do want me a safe space. Oh, where am I now? Oh, no. You know, it took me near enough 10 minutes to find that page again. I must have scrolled past it about 5 or 6 times. I was looking specifically for the word sustainable and I just couldn't find it. Anyway, fuck, I wasn't on stream for that one, eh? So, to help us understand the challenges people face and what action we can take to support people to address these challenges, we are exploring the establishment of a people's panel. The panel would enable us to explore the reality of personal responsibility and safer behaviours for people in a wide range of different circumstances. You could actually start to make the argument that this is actually worse than just straightforward rules to follow, or that you were expected to follow. I mean, this is starting to get into territory that is very peculiar, to put it politely. A people's panel to explore the reality of personal responsibility and safer behaviours. It would also allow us not only to monitor the challenges people are facing over time, but also to understand the elements that compound the challenges and crucially factors that could address those challenges. Working with the panel would also help to provide us with an in-depth understanding of how public health messaging is impacting on behaviour. Fucking Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. Organisations and businesses have changed substantially and invested heavily to create safer and lower risk ways of working. While the temptation to return to a pre-COVID-19 way of operating may be strong in some parts of some sectors, and, of course, in many respects should be encouraged, yeah, that part at the end, yeah. And of course, it should be encouraged. The experience of the pandemic demonstrates the inherent uncertainty we will continue to face. To strengthen our long-term response to this virus, future variants and possibly other viruses ahead. Yeah, so even if the coof just disappears, never comes back again, never to be heard about and spoken about ever again, it doesn't matter. It does not matter, because there could always be another potential, hypothetical, potentially non-existent, never to be seen virus that could emerge at any point in time, or it might never occur. But the thought of it, the talk of it, that's enough. We will lead the way, of course. They love to tell you that they're leading the fucking way. That's the SNP. I mean, they are. It really is so embarrassing sometimes reading this stuff, the way that they word it. I don't know whose benefit that's for. If it's for the person reading it, as if this is supposed to get them into the mood to think that they want to join this little cult, or is this the SNP stroking Nicola Sturgeon's fucking ego? I don't. Or is it Jason Leach probably? He's been relatively quiet as of late. He's probably studying in-depth climate change. He's going to be doing all the carbon emission podcast. You just wait and see. The dentist is moving on up in the world. Sorry. But, where am I? To strengthen our long-term response to the virus, future variants, possibly other viruses ahead, we will lead the way in partnership with businesses and organisations to embed proportionate protective behaviours. Okay, we're learning to live with COVID, but they're still going to be embedding proportionate protective behaviours. You know, just the off chance there's a virus in the future. You know, how would they even know that there's a potential for a virus in the future? I suppose you could always make the argument, 10, 20, 30, 100 years from now, there might be a virus. Or you could just get Bill Gates on the phone. I'm sure he'll fucking tell you when the next one's coming out. Where am I? Sorry. We will lead the way in blah 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 to embed proportionate protective behaviours and create a framework for improved public health responses. Okay. The government will work with all sectors to support adaptation to enable Scotland's businesses, organisations and the public generally to be more resilient to future shocks. Oh, the shocks. Alright, okay. And then it says here that they will develop business campaigns, clear and accessible government guidance, update the compliance toolkit. Oh, fuck's sake, what the fuck's that like? I might have fucking made a video on that before, actually. It does sound familiar. It's just the way that's worded, the compliance toolkit. I mean, who the fuck do these people think they are like? I mean they can write all the shit they want. I mean, but I mean, it's really relatively telling of how they feel about the public in general. It's like there's undertones of disdain here, where they need to be told every aspect of their life. They need to be told about things, But oh, fucking, it's another thing entirely if somebody finishes a harrowing day at work. I don't know. Let's just make up some random woman called Mary. She's back from her shift at the bakery, and the first thing she does is she jumps into the bath and she fires up the fucking laptop to see what's what on the government's website. And when she first ever clapped eyes on that compliance toolkit, that was it for Mary. Life never been fucking saved since. There will be people out there that are like that, compliance toolkit, fucking ram your compliance toolkit. What the fuck, like? Hey, wow. And then, of course, they add in this to support voluntary action to help customers feel safe. So, any business owner that happens to be reading through this, it's not incumbent on them that they have to go along with this shit, but it's always going to be at the back of their mind. Their customers might not feel necessarily safe in their premises, so they better implement some rules, just to make people feel safe. And then that indirectly means that everybody that walks in will probably have to abide by them because you put rules in place. Anyway, businesses and other organisations recognise the positive steps taken during the pandemic and the need for them to have a greater permanency in its aftermath. Oh yeah, okay. Such as an increased hybrid and flexible working, enhanced sanitation, and hygiene, and improved ventilation within the workplace. Beyond this, engagement has started on longer-term adaptations to prepare Scotland to address future public health challenges. And of course, they're getting away with justifying talking about preparing for future public health challenges, but because they were so successful the last time round. Because didn't you know, folks, the rules work? Yeah, all those rules, they've always worked. Don't let anybody tell you any different. No. The WHO, Nicola Finlips herself, and of course her right-hand man, the big bad Jason Leach, they wouldn't fucking lie to you. Of course they would not lie to you. Medical grade masks, who needs them when you've got a snood? Yeah, of course, that works. Yeah, washing your hands and chopping the bottom of doors. Social distancing, only visiting people in 3 households and not 4. Things such as this. They all play pivotal roles. Yeah, jib jab passports. They all worked. All of it fucking worked. And that's why they can now stand there, ready and prepared for a round 2 if there is ever a round 2, a second virus, because they're experts now. They know what to do. They'll just implement the same rules that didn't work. But hey ho. Let's see. With consideration being given to regulatory reform, business continuity and resilience planning, a simplification and improved accessibility of guidance, public health training for employers and employees, and physical modification of premises to reduce the risk of infectious disease transmission. Aha! Happy days. That was first example of me reading out an irrelevant paragraph tonight. And it's probably because I'm distracted by this fucking chair. I swear to God, like people must hear that every time I make videos. So the next steps We will act to ensure that necessary improvements in ventilation will be proposed in light of the work of the Short Life Working Group on Ventilation, who will provide their recommendations by the end of March. Continuing to work across the 4 nations of the UK HSA and international organisations to promote measures to support biosecure environments. Why the fuck are we talking about biosecure environments in a hypothetical period of time where we're moving away from following restrictions that are there by law and instead moving towards supposedly a life where we... Well, I know that we're being told constantly to change our behaviour, but theoretically we should be doing as we please, take responsibility and all that jazz, but no, they're talking about biosecure environments, okay. We will work with partners to develop by the end of April a pilot scheme that encourages those who manage buildings and settings in the private and public sector to display by way of signage the protective measures they have in place. And they will review building regulations and explore how buildings of the future can have infection resilience. Fucking do one. And here's a climate change overlap here with hybrid working being mentioned, as it says that supporting staff to work from home, where possible and appropriate, has been an important mitigation in reducing the risk of transmission both in the work environment and during travel to and from work. It is set to remain as one of the ongoing behaviours that will help to manage the COOF effectively for the long term. So as I said, it was working from home was the initial thing that they put in place. Then just before the announcements came into effect in regards to this framework that they've conjured up, there was talk of a hybrid working, which initially started off as that was their way of phasing people back into the workplace, slowly but surely, but it was going to be a phased. Now they don't even mention that aspect. It's all about the long-term sort of solution where it will help to reduce any transmission if Omicron or any other deadly variant or not so deadly variant happens to be floating about that we're not aware of in the work environment or travelling to and from work. So there's a double entendre, I'm pretty sure I was correct in using that word. If not, then fuck it. It's done now. But not only will you reduce the spread of risk of transmission travelling to and from work if you're not doing that, but you're also not travelling. So you're not pumping the dirty little CO2 emissions into the air that are causing the planet to burn to a cinder, because your Ford Ka is the problem. What else have we got? I'm almost on page 50, so this is much better timing than the last time around. I don't know what the fuck went wrong. In addition to the public health benefits of working from home, a number of studies have noted perceptions of increased productivity among employees, albeit contingent on technology and connectivity. Okay, I'm not going to dispute whether or not there's actual studies that suggest that might be the case, but I just find that to be very convenient studies, if you ask me, because I couldn't possibly have foreseen any positives to working from home all the time. Unless you were getting to see your kids more often and stuff, maybe that's fine, or that's acceptable, or spend more time with your family and whatnot. But I just think being stuck in the house all the time, for work, and then that's it, you're in at night as well, that would start to drain people, I would have thought, but no, apparently not. I'll take their fucking word for it, I don't know. But I still think that that's just convenient. Wider research has noted that the absence of workplace interaction, breakdown of support networks, isolation and loneliness can cause negative impacts on social well-being. These points have been made directly by businesses through regular engagement with the government. So that's duly noted. They understand the desire to have staff back in the workplace some of the time and agree that employers and employees in conjunction with unions are best placed to establish what works best for them. So again, it's not going to be phasing back to days of old where everybody was back in the office, but they will allow it till summer in. So it's a reduced amount of traffic to and from a work business and back and forth, etc. Less travel, less CO2, less cars on the roads. You know the shit. You know the scripts. So, we've got figure 12, which shows the difference in overall contacts and work contacts between those who work from home compared to those who have a workplace outside of the home. Those who do not work from home have higher, more variable contacts than those who do work from home. I don't really give a shit, to be honest. But, yeah, that kind of means nothing to me, I'll be honest. It's somewhat irrelevant to a certain extent, because via this hybrid working anyway, if you're one of these people that has ended up in that sort of position, then you can speak to your employer as far as I'm aware, and you can be one of the people that can't go back into the office, so this is just pointless me talking about it, that would be more important if everybody was forced to stay at home. You know. But anyway, where am I? Again, you see that there. He's doing this on purpose to me. He threw me off my A game. Right. We will work with regulators to adapt our risk-based approach and ensure that they have the necessary resources to support the... Fuck off! I don't even know who you are. To support the promotion of safer behaviours with adoptions normalised in our business communities. Fuck it. Okay. Right. This is just... I mean, they're still talking about businesses here. Scottish Government communications have supported public adherence and positive behaviour. Oh, man. I mean, they get away with it in this section, obviously, because we still haven't gone to the next part. This is still the behaviour part that I started off on. They're somewhat justified. I just love that. They think so highly of themselves when they type this nonsense up. I don't know who does it, really, but they think far too highly of the government in question, the government that they work for. And I would find it severely comical if this is actually one of the MSPs that writes this nonsense. You know, it's either the dentist or it's Peter Manel. It's Peter Manel, he's typing this shit up. Or maybe it's that wee gay boy, fucking Olaf Stando, or whatever his name is, the SNP anti-racist New Scot, who writes all the nonsense on the SNP's website. His Twitter is just cringe. All his articles are cringe as well. He can't just tell you in a balanced manner what the SNP are planning to implement. Oh, no. He has to publicise every single article, oozing in metaphorical love semen. Why did I fucking say that? Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Oh, fuck. But, it's just, you know... The government, they've encouraged the behaviours for the pandemic, providing vital public information on what is required as protective measures have changed, encouraging sustained behavioural change, and delivering more targeted strands of activity to support specific audiences and needs. Yeah. All the others have been peak cringe. And somebody did, one of the videos that I watched in the Parliament's website, she summarised this shit up perfectly for me, you know, because I was struggling to find the words to say it when I was doing the stream. This is more like, don't fucking forget now. Oh, fucking forgot. But essentially, to paraphrase or to summarise, it was kind of, it was a roundup, that was it. It was a roundup of everything that has been done to date. You know, from start to finish of the CUF, as opposed to telling you what the fucking future holds. And she's not half wrong. Supporting materials were sent to businesses like this, for example. Living safely messaging was sent to businesses. Okay. You need to be told how to live safely to avoid that big bad Omicron variant. Fucking unbelievable. Where are we? Right. There we go. Helping to manage the CUF internationally. Let's just see that I didn't miss anything just here. I know it's BAME there at the bottom of the screen. Oh yeah. I'll see it. I'll read this bit. Sorry. Any future activities, so they're obviously talking about messaging, will be informed by ongoing research and evidence. The grand spanking research and evidence that was on display during the Omicron outbreak. You know, Nicholas Sturgeon, one of 2 human beings in the entirety of the world who pretended it was the bubonic plague, the other being Drakeford. You know, so that was some good evidence that she had there. Glad she was following the fucking science. But anyway, there also continues to be a focus on developing and improving content on the government's website to support public understanding of and compliance with public health guidance. Yeah, yeah. What is this shit? I thought we were moving to a phase. Fucking see how fucking see when this video's done. I swear to God, baby. But fucking I've lost. He keeps doing that to me. That's the 3rd time. But we're meant to be moving to a position where rules have been lifted and we're learning to live with the CUF, etc. You know, this is it now. It's all upwards and onwards from here on out. Oh no! Did we forgot to tell you that you need to go on our website and check, because quite often we'll be updating our fucking content like PewDiePie on the website to support public understanding, because you need to understand. You might misunderstand, but you will be fully understanding when you and you might even comply if you don't already comply with the guidance that we're going to set out, despite the fact you don't need to follow any guidance because we're moving to a post-guidance phase, allegedly. It was just total pish. So I think a lot of people might have jumped again to a certain extent where they said that all the rules are coming to an end, that's it, we're free. We're fucking not. Read this. Quite clearly we're not free. I know it's sort of like, it's not mandatory that you have to follow this nonsense, but when the majority do, you're kind of fucking left in a position where you kind of got no choice but to live your life as you were doing prior anyway. And I don't mean, well, I might as well follow all the rules everybody else does, but you're still going to have a somewhat miserable experience in the public if everybody else is adhering to some form of these rules, you know. Communications will also support the wider COVID recovery in collaboration with organisations such as the Scottish Enterprise, Young Scot and the BAME infrastructure in Scotland will continue, as will engagement with a range of organisations that can help to disseminate messaging to those they represent. Oh, so sweet, frank and fucking candid. You know, always got to add in the BAMEs there. You know, good on the BAMEs, no taking it. Yeah, you know. So, following a review of international travel requirements, you know, that big bad travel requirements, that was the only thing that scuppered Sturgeon in her plans. She was almost successful in completely eradicating COVID, if you believe a word she says. That's what she said in 2020. It was international travel. Done fucked it up, man. And the 4 nations have agreed in January the 24th to reduce and simplify requirements for travellers entering the UK. Alright, okay. This will all be irrelevant in due course anyway, travelling internationally when they really start hammering home the climate change bullshit. You know, you'll have Prince Harry all the time on the TV dictating what you need to do, and you'll have Prince Charles as well, you know, just to make sure that you definitely follow the rules. You know, protective measures have also been eased for unvaccinated passengers. That's lovely. So I might skip all this shit. I'm not sure I want to read this, and I don't want to waste time reading about international travel. It's really of no relevancy to me, as I said. The reason being, of course, well, one, I'm fucking skint these days thanks to pretty inactive work, which, funnily enough, in my case, started when COVID started, so thanks for that. But, as well as that, you know, it's only a matter of time before they start to clamp down on this as well. For the climate, man. For the climate, man. You know, you can't be going about in Boeing 777s. What are you doing? Fuck's sake. You know? You're maybe in your 20-minute neighbourhood. Now you tell me you want to fly to Florida? No, Bill Gates ain't gonna be happy about that. You'll come back and you'll have emails. A lot of emails are, I don't know, maybe some S&P named person will turn up the door to tell you about the latest guidance and content that's on their website specifically for you because you fucked off to Florida. I don't know. I'm talking nonsense, but sorry. 49, right, international vaccine, no one cares. We've invested 3.5 million of our international development fund into COVID-19 response initiatives in Pakistan, Zambia, Rwanda and Malawi, of course, the same countries that we give away our money to every single year under the guise of a climate justice fund. Don't ever recall being asked by Nicola Thinlips if I wanted my taxpayers' money, or any taxpayers' money for that matter, or just our nation's money going into the hands of these people. Nah, I never asked it. You know, we don't really get to say anything anymore, do we? You know. We have provided support for vaccine preparedness, delivery, distribution, rollout, and online healthcare education to counter the hesitancy through UNICEF hesitancy. Healthcare education to counter hesitancy. For fuck's sake, man. People have absolutely every right in the world to have grounds to claim that they're hesitant, if you will, off this jib jab. But that's unacceptable, and you will be re-educated, or educated, even. You know, they're pulling out all the stops here, like, fuck's sake. We continue to support collaboration between the University of Glasgow's Immunology Department from the University of Health Sciences study in Malawi, including new COVID-19 funding in 2021 for immunophenotyping and genomic sequencing. Jesus Christ. Through the NHS Global Citizenship Programme. Fuck, do one. So the next steps for internationally offer to share Scotland's experience in delivering a mass vaccination programme with the governments of Malawi, Zambia and Rwanda. Oh, isn't that nice? We're going to gift you Sturgeon for an afternoon, boys. I'm sure she'll be able to tell you all there is to know, because she'll have to tell us every 5 minutes that Scotland's the most vaccinated part of the UK. Going so far in our braggadocious, pathetic appearances at our script reading podium. She would tell you more than once in the one fucking episode. Really, sometimes 3 times. Yeah, so have fun with that. Yeah, have fun. Learn all there is to know. Provide crucial COVID-19 medical supplies to partner countries. They could even have my jib job. I'm that nice. I'm that much of a nice guy. Wherever we can to support the treatment of the illness. Provide multilateral partners with assistance to ensure effective vaccine programs in our African partner countries. Yeah, I'm all for it. You take the jobs, boy. Work in collaboration. Don't do that to me. Work in collaboration with multilateral agencies and partners in the global south to call for improvements in vaccine equity globally and continue to invest funding in initiatives to support the equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines in sub-Saharan African partner countries. Okay, I'm wasting everybody's time here because I don't give a shit about this. We must adapt to living with the COOF while remembering that those who have been on the highest risk list may need more time, care and consideration to get back to a more normal way of life. Strong evidence would suggest that the vaccine is offering significant protection and preventing people on the highest risk list from becoming severely ill if they're infected with the COOF. However, understandably, many feel particularly fearful about what adapting to living with the virus means for them. Okay, well, again, if they've had the vaccine, and you keep reminding these individuals as well as everybody else that they're safe and effective, beautiful creations, man's best friend, and they're just Labrador needles essentially, and there should be nothing to suggest that these people have anything to worry about. But anyway, we know that many people who may be at higher risk or more anxious may be worried as we lift restrictions. Therefore, we will, for the time being, continue to provide guidance and support to those who may feel more vulnerable and communicate that. For many people initially considered to be at the highest risk from the COOF, that is no longer the case. Okay, given the wide range of circumstances and health conditions of people on the highest risk list, ensuring personalised advice and support is available to each individual on this list is an important part of this transitional period. Alright, sound. Okay, fair enough. I mean, well, that's what should be happening anyway. So can we just scrap the rest of this bullshit that the rest of us are supposed to follow, and you can do these things for the people that require it? No, of course, because we're all in it together. My mistake, the Kumbaya routine. Our successful Jib Jab programme has helped us prioritise and protect vulnerable groups. In line with the JCVI guidance, this has included over 90% of the people with severe immunosuppression who received a third dose prior to their booster, so they could reach similar levels of protection to the general population. We will continue to communicate how people's risk has changed as a result of the vaccination programme, with Omicron causing less serious illness across all groups. And it took you so long to concede that point, did it not? Oh my god, do one, like... Oh my days, this better be the right page, I swear. As a government, we have regularly engaged with people at the highest risk since the pandemic began to understand the specific needs and consideration of this group. And more than 13,000 highest risk individuals responded to our most recent survey by Public Health Scotland. Okay. Having listened to the people on this list, we have launched a scheme to allow anyone who feels anxious to signal to others that they would like extra space and care taken around them in public space. Right? Yeah, that's already been announced, so I don't really need to go over that too much. We know that the mental and physical health of people at highest risk from COVID-19 has been particularly affected, which is why we are working to develop support for those who need additional help to recover. Okay. They're wanting the employers to consider doing the same thing. And then we've got next steps to continue to ensure people at the highest risk know where to turn if they need further guidance, right, sound, whatever. That just sounds like it's repetition at this point. You've already said this, which is fine for me because it means that I come closer to the end of the article that I never thought I would see the end of. It's not as bad the second time around, gotta be honest, but I think that's probably because by that point I was 40 pages deep of behavioural change 24/7. So it's been a bit less frequent this side of the aisle. But adult care homes, people living in adult care homes, many of whom are older and or living with multiple long-term medical conditions, have been severely affected by the COOF due to the high risk of exposure to infection and higher clinical risk of severe disease and mortality, and of course the extremely stringent rules that you implemented there. And all the untested people that you shoved into the care homes at the beginning of all of this, that seems to have just been conveniently brushed under the rug. Who's to suggest that maybe they were always claiming these symptomatic cases were a thing? Who's to suggest that the care homes didn't become rife with asymptomatic spreaders, super spreaders essentially, I don't know. Just saying. You know, they always cried and whined whenever somebody broke any rules. You know, Dominic Cummings was the one that springs to mind because I found a video I made on this subject. And there was a radio interview, but I made reference to the fact she was currently at that point pissed off with Dominic Cummings for breaking the rules because he drove somewhere in his car while she was overseeing 900 plus people untested being shoved into care homes, and she tried to worm out of it by, you know, essentially saying that, you know, anybody can point at my flaws when they use hindsight, but it wasn't like that at the time. I fucking was. Well, so don't pull that one. But anyway, people living in care homes, which are essentially their homes, should be supported to enjoy fulfilled, meaningful lives free from restrictions as far as possible. I absolutely agree. Even during outbreaks, unless there are exceptional circumstances, the care home should support residents seeing friends and family and participating in activities and away from the home. But you could do that for the last few years now. I wonder how many of these people sadly deteriorated, and again, for so many different aspects of society, the government have got blood in their hands, but they'll never ever be held to account for that. Never. You know. Progress on care home residents. I suppose this would be interesting to the likes of Ragnar, so maybe I shouldn't skip too quickly over it. But policy and guidance to support care home residents and staff is based on clinical evidence around the risk to people in vulnerable settings. At the start of the Omicron wave, a number of precautionary protective measures was introduced, including daily tests for staff, household limits on visitors, and continued promotion of the jib jab, which will have contributed to a lower rate of transmission and death compared to previous waves. The named visitor policy during the COOF outbreaks have been implemented with growing support from the sector, and this has assisted the wider implementation of Open with Care. Okay, right, sounds so jibbity jabs allegedly worked. I'm not going to argue the toss on that one. So next steps for care home settings will be to continue building on what has been learned about the critical importance of having of infection prevention and control, and the benefits of the jibby jabby. Okay, right, sound right. You know, I'm just going to skip some of this now. Yeah, I'm on nearly page 60, so it's I'm getting there. What's this? Sorry. Infection prevention and control remains an important part of our management of the virus, developing guidance in a responsive manner with rapid literature reviews. Literature, oh yeah. Evidence conducted by NHS Services, Scotland's Antimicrobial Resistance and Infection Prevention and Control, and supported by the Clinical Nosocomial Review Group and commissioned by the Chief Nursing Officer. I thought I was going to say the dentist there. The existing National Infection Prevention and Control Manual was supplemented by additional addenda for specific health and social care settings. Okay. Though these were revised to become a single winter respiratory infectious addendum. Okay. So that's some indirect acknowledgement that we were dealing with a winter virus, huh? With a largely vaccinated population and with future treatment options available to us, the level of risk presented by infection with the virus reduces. Is that right? That's not right, though, is it? Because they've already made reference to waning immunity when it comes to these vaccinations. There's already talk of fourth boosters, or fourth jabs, essentially. And we're also being told that we're not out of the woods yet. COVID's not done. Well, it's their words, not mine. So what's to suggest that the vaccine, the boosters, will have ran their course by the middle of the summer, or whatever it may be. Maybe it'll be around winter time, and by then there'll be a new variant. You know, you don't know that, but nah, of course, the vaccines work. And everything's hunky-fucking-dory. We have proved that... Oh my god, look at this. We have proved that we have the expertise and ability to respond quickly. The fucking expertise. Nicola Sturgeon's got the expertise, provided to her, of course, by Jason Leach, because he's got the ability. Yeah, okay. The expertise. There's a fucking joke. That's a wind-up. It's not a fucking wind-up. Sure, come on. The expertise. What? To read a script? You know, it's the interchanging shit here. Sturgeon does it all the time when she's doing speeches. She can't make her mind up. That annoys me. Everything annoys me about her, to be honest. But there's certain things that piss me off slightly more than the rest. And that is one of them, of course. It's 1 minute it's we're following the guidance, we're following the science, we're following the experts. You know, we're all sitting around a round table. I mean, she gives off this impression while she's doing this. You know, she's being frank and candid, and she's sat around the table with them. Bill Gates is up on the Skype or Zoom call monitor. You know, praising her because she's doing such a vigilant job of ensuring that the publication is ready to go for everybody, picking up every little spelling mistake, going where all the scientists, all the epidemiologists and the virologists are all sat around her in awe of her fucking big brain because she's doing it all herself. In the next breath, it's no, I messed up that we fucking ramble because I was meant to say. Tell you, it's plenty of job. You may fucking say that you know, they're following science together, etc. But then in the next breath, it's her that's doing it. You know? Which one is it? Anyway, we will continue to work on a 4-nation basis to inform and develop ICP guidance. Oh, fuck you. We will continue to work on a 4-nations basis to inform and develop IPC guidance for Scotland, continuing to develop policy and guidance for health and social care settings in a collaborative manner, and then seek to use sound IPC principles as an enabler to safe and compassionate care whenever it is delivered, and ensure that IPC guidance and access to IPC export support is available across health and social care. That's lovely stuff. Riveting stuff. I'm just going to skip past it. Modest. We will plan for new approaches to pandemic PPE, which will ensure that we learn from experience, promote innovation, and have strong, sustainable for any future epidemic or pandemic. Of course. Ensure future PPE pandemic supply and develop a strategy to ensure Scotland is ready for a future pandemic whenever it may occur. Because they occur all the time. You know, they're so rife across society. But actually, the guy in that BBC thing that I was referring to earlier on, he tries to imply towards the end of the episode that it's the climate change that created the coof. Now that's got to be one of the most daft things I've heard since Linda Fabiani tried to tell the world that women can't run because they're not taught. I've not heard that before, admittedly. It's a new one on me, but he said it with a straight face. And I'm going to take his word for it because why else would he be on the BBC? They're totally trustworthy. Totally. But, anyway. Work to protect the new Scottish PPE manufacturing capacity and capability, oversee implementation of positive changes to the provision of PPE, and work to minimise wastage and maximise the benefit of PPE purchased. Okay. Will this include medical grade masks, or will it just be a case of snooze if all hell breaks loose again? Because we know they work, obviously, so I'm not sure it would make much of a difference, but, you know, always good to know. As Scotland emerges from the coof, we urgently need to address the pre-existing health inequalities that have been exposed and exacerbated. The pandemic has produced the uneven impacts across a range of outcomes for a number of groups. These include households of low incomes or in poverty, low-paid workers, children, young people, older people, disabled people, minority ethnic groups, and women. So every single group bar white men, able-bodied white men. Literally every fucking group going there. Really. Or should I say, able-bodied white men that aren't classified as on a low income or a low-paid worker. But, you know, so you could make the argument that there's one in there. But children and young people, right? So that's obviously not an able-bodied white male or white male adult, cisgender white male. Older people, well, old isn't relatively young, so there you go. Able-bodied, not disabled. Well, he can't be a minority. Well, he technically could. Oh, no, he can't because it's for women. But no, he could be a Polish guy, I guess. So would that count? Or no, we can't. Nah, it doesn't count. It doesn't with the anti-racist. Never does. No. Strange that we're all just deemed white to these people, but they get to be Pakistani and Zimbabwean and Senegalese, etc., while simultaneously Scottish. Yeah, fuck yourselves. And then they reference intersectionality here by saying that the groups also overlap. Of course they do. The unproven theory of intersectionality, rife in Scotland. Because, why? But all because they write it down and they imply it does. We have a national mission to increase how long people in Scotland live in good health, focusing on those facing the most disadvantaged. That is lovely. And if you're trying to say that there's people out there in society in Scotland that are genuinely living in poverty, like severe poverty, and are at a disadvantage, etc., And you're trying to insinuate here that you're going to be a bit charitable. Well, that's nice. Charity does begin at home. But why don't you continue to do that? Then you can go move on to the people that are still homeless in our country, our Indigenous native folk. And when you've gone around the entirety of the Scottish society and you've held every single person that you would consider to be living in a deprived area or having a harrowing life or a worse off life, etc. Once that is all completely done and all these people are now in much better places, then and only then can you turn around and start to salivate over the prospect of importing babes again. But until such a time, can we stop talking about devolved immigration powers? Because if you're acknowledging here, as they do a few times, that we have people in this country that you would consider being at a disadvantage, why the fuck are you not prioritising them and instead prioritising brown men and black men that have come over here illegally and are sat in a hotel room complaining because it's not a house? Anyway, I had to get that off my chest a bit, Our inclusive COVID vaccination programme. Okay. And our inclusive approach to tests and protect, they just love the word inclusive, don't they? You want a cup of tea, love? Aye. How many sugars do you want? Oh, inclusive will do. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck's sake. But there is more to do, and we will grasp the opportunity to address. There's always more to do when these people are concerned. You know, you could have all the equality and the rights in the world at your feet, your fingertips even, but there's still going to be more to do. Because without more to do, you're fucked. The impact of the pandemic is driving increased demand and complexity across all services, and particularly the most deprived areas. General practice supports people in hearts of communities who may not be in touch with other services. It has a unique and key role to play in addressing health inequalities and tackling child poverty, improving population health and employability. So they plan to build on policies providing social and financial inclusion support and advice under the general practice roof. Okay, taking together this will work to support patients experiencing multiple and intersecting socio-economic inequalities, rife and riddled systemic structural barriers, well-being outcomes. Of course, outcomes, yes. It's always about the outcomes, and the bigger and the badder the outcome will be, you know, the darker your pigmentation is. We are fucking bold. Let me just address the elephant in the room here. The word bold. They use it unironically, time after time, to refer to what they're doing. You know, it's almost as bad as using sustainable wrongly in sentences, or inclusive, or you know, but bold. You know, it's literally just synonymous with brave. So we'll just take brave out of the equation. No, bold, and put brave in its place. That sentence doesn't sound as arse-kicky now, does it, really? Now it just sounds a bit fucking gay. We're taking brave. I mean, fuck off. But anyway, let's see what this says. We are taking bold population-wide approaches to reduce the significant harms of tobacco, alcohol and unhealthy food and drinks. Examples of this include bringing forward legislation to restrict promotions of less healthy foods and drinks. Okay. Tackling alcohol consumption and harms, particularly amongst high-risk groups. And how do you intend to do that? Develop a refreshed tobacco action plan and continue to provide $9 million a year to health boards to fund smoking cessation services in the most deprived areas. Okay. Okay. Don't really think it's got anything to do with you whether or not these people decide to drink or smoke. That's their fucking choice. It's their right, is it not? For a party that's screamed to the rooftops about everybody having the ability to do as they want, with human rights being a pivotal thing in their speeches and their kumbaya sessions around the campfires and whatnot. What does it matter to them if what somebody smokes? But I've heard this before from somebody in the SNP, the one that looks like Little Mo. She would make a reference to it, and she hopes that not the generation that ain't been born yet, but the one after that will be a smoking-free generation or something like that. So obviously there is things in place that I'm not aware of. Doesn't stop me going to buy tobacco though, and I'm not going to fucking stop because the SNP are telling me to stop. And high-risk groups, alcohol consumption, alcoholics are always going to drink, so effectively anything that you try to put into place to curb you know, too much alcohol consumption, you're just going to affect people that would buy casually. You know, alcoholics will always find a way. Same thing applied with the legal highs. They banned all the legal highs, and what did people do? Well, they just stopped buying them off dodgy sites to the internet and went back to buying cocaine or whatever it was. You know, people will find a way. So when they implement or suggest or even pontificate and potentially doing something that's all that they're effectively going to do, is affect the lives of casual users or smokers or whatever. Again, I don't really think it's got anything to do with you, But and then they go on to talk about doubling investment in sport and active living to 100 million a year by the end of the Parliament, ensuring more people can enjoy active lives, improving physical, mental, and social health. Okay, that's fantastic. I guess that's one of the first things that I can say all year that I actually don't mind them doing, but it's the reasoning again behind it, because this ties into the 20-minute neighbourhood shit and that there's all this emphasis on physicality and mental and social health improving in 20-minute neighbourhoods as opposed to not. So that's why they're going to put all these things in and around your 20-minute time zone, essentially. They will tackle the inequalities in the uptake of health screening. Screening is one of the most important prevention tools, yada yada. Recognise the factors that impact on people's health and well-being go beyond what the health and social care system itself can deliver. So understanding that socio-economic inequalities drive health inequalities. Oh, fuck off. Who wrote this? Like George... No, say George Floyd now. I feel harsh or something. This includes actions to end poverty, increase fair access to employment, I wonder, education and training, and improve our physical and social environments. Intelligence-led approach to tackle racialised health inequalities. Racialised health inequalities has made a comeback. Racialised, the hip new word now that the SNP like to coin, because they're with the cool kids now. Racialised, because race doesn't exist. Yeah, and don't take my word for it. Take the guidance, the publications, the anti-racist education that the SNP signed off on. This says all you need to know in there about racialisation. So anyway, it says minority ethnic groups have been disproportionately affected by the economic impacts of the pandemic because of their employment and household circumstances. Well, it's not my fault if Tyrone lives with 4 other Tyrones. It's not really our fault, but hey ho. Any excuse, any fucking opportunity to point to anything that looks a bit dodgy on paper, which is overcrowded houses, well, that must be the inequalities of racist health. I might not be what they're on about, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, minority ethnic people are also at greater risk of severe illness and death from the coof because of racism. No, it's not that though, is it? The BBC already debunked this in one of their own documentaries. I recall watching it, so that must have stung a bit. But I'd love to tell you that, though. It was the racism. Graham Campbell even did it. He said that they all died. All the babies were dying in hospital because, they were more likely to be in the front line. Like, who the fuck are you kidding, Graham, mate? Population in Scotland's vastly white, and the NHS is like, 79% white or something like that, or 78% white, like across the entirety of the UK. And we got this prick trying to tell us that the reason babes died more was because they were more likely to be in the front lines. Just fuck off, Graham Campbell, you fucking dickhead. We are working with local communities to cultivate person-centred approaches aimed at preventing ill health and reducing inequalities by addressing the root causes, of course. Lovely stuff. Including supporting our health and social care providers to become active anchor institutions and build wealth in their community. Okay, so much emphasis on community. Communitarianism is going to start becoming a talking point, I reckon, more and more, from maybe the UK column guys or something. But not here nor there for the time being. I'm going to pause it and see if I can skip some more shit. I just skipped some stuff. It was really... I didn't do it because I bias or whatever. I mean, if you really want to go and see it, you can obviously find this yourself. I posted it on my Telegram the other day anyway. But, there was a list of things that they're going to fund. Just the usual shit, really. Acknowledgement of mental health, etc., etc. But for the purpose of time, because I still want to play that guy in the BBC, just skipped it, really. So, we're coming to the end here. This is page 81. It goes on to say that Omicron provided us and countries across the world with a salutary reminder that the virus will continue to evolve into new variants. Yes, of course, but it took you all a long time at the SNP's headquarters to come to the conclusion, as if they came to that conclusion themselves. And if they did, and it took them that long to conclude that Omicron was nothing like they were insinuating it was, then they're really not fit to run for government or even pretend that they're in charge of the country, because that is next level retard. Everybody and their dog knew that Omicron was nothing to worry about, bar Nicola Sturgeon. Anyway. But it says there that the virus will continue to evolve into new variants, some of which may be more harmful. And while we can look forward with a higher degree of optimism than at any point previously in the pandemic, how and why is that really exactly? I guess you could make that argument because the dominant strain now is the big bad Omicron, and it's a piss poor virus, which they're still not really acknowledging, are they? They're not saying it outright that it's a piss poor variant, are they? No, they're not. But take what you can get, I guess. We can look forward with a high degree of optimism at any point previously in the pandemic as our economy and broader society to continue to recover from the experiences of the past 2 years. Well, if you call phasing our oil and gas and pushing us towards changing our behaviour from a climate change, then yeah, of course, everything seems to be looking hunky-dory. Definitely grounds to be optimistic. Yeah, dark times are not ahead. No, of course not. Fuck off, man. And again, flu season will come back. Let's see what happens then. This is just nonsense. We must continue to do everything required to remain resilient and keep the virus in check, because remember, the rules work. I started the stream off the other day by telling you all that because Nicola Sturgeon wanted you to know, and just in case you forgot, the rules work. And as long as you take that to the grave with you, you will always be able to keep viruses in check because the rules work. Our lives will not go back to exactly as they were before COVID, and indeed there are some aspects of life during the pandemic that we would want to hold on to that could serve us well for the future. This approach will be consistent with our strategic intent, and which has been updated for the next phase of the epidemic to manage the virus effectively, primarily through adaptation and health measures such as jibby-jabbies, treatment and surveillance. As we recover and rebuild... No, that's not entirely true. There was a fourth element there. Why is that not included? Or is that a trick to see that if you've been listening or not? The fourth that should be included in that list is the imaginary rules that you have to pretend are still there. You have to change your behaviour. That was the whole point of this fucking document. As a part of our approach, we will ensure that the guidance on what we need to do remains clear. Oh, of course you will. Of course you will. That's so frank. Candid. The framework is set out what we must do as we come to rely much more on I spoke too soon, didn't I? The strategic framework is set out what we all must do as we come to rely much more on positive behaviours. Okay? Ah, dear. And actions to manage the coof effectively, because the rules work, folks, and sustainably for sustainable developments. Ding, ding, ding. Loving it. They just love throwing it in there, And much less than legal requirements and restrictions on our way of life, because by that point, as I read much earlier on, by that point, they hope anyway, that you will have come to the realisation that it's good to follow they're good rules, essentially. Oh, fuck. However, should the virus yet again pose an acute threat to our health, we have set out how we plan to respond effectively and proportionately, and vigilantly and all the rest. Because they've got the expertise, remember. Their words, not mine. Nicola Thinlips, equipped with all the fucking knowledge now. Oh wow, I'm proud of her. Really proud of her. Sunderland should be proud. You little Saxon. It's fine, I guess. Sturgeon is England's revenge for Tony Blair. Or Gordon Brown, so we're even, I guess. But on that note, that's the end of this shit. Thank fuck for that. That was, this one wasn't as bad, but I've gone for an hour. And, how the fuck did I do that? Not a short space of time, when it took me 4 times as long to go through roughly the same amount of pages. Okay, give or take, though, the speech at the start. But that leads me to the BBC guy. So, behavioural change has been the talk of the town for the time being. And this guy just sort of, it's not a doom post in a sense, but as I said, it's more like he's foreshadowing the future. Because I think you would be a bit deluded to think that there isn't a lot more coming along later on down the track. If you think it's just going to be about eating bugs, not farting, not eating burgers, not driving out within your 20-minute neighbourhood, etc. And that's really all there is to it, and the climate will just miraculously change because it's as simplistic as that. Human beings have the ability to change the climate for the better or for the worse because the United Nations and the WHO said so, apparently. Bill Gates and Al Gore and Greta Thunberg have dictated policy. They know what can be done and what must be done, and it will be done if you follow the rules. But if you think it will be as simple as the little aforementioned rules I mentioned there, then I think you might be mistaken. And I'm not saying the baldy guy in this iPlayer clips I'm about to show you is the gospel truth, but I would think that you probably are, to some extent, somewhere deep down within you, there's a lot more coming.
beat up the SNP too much about not having enough sovereignty in Scotland to impose a windfall tax. I don't know the detail of the MP vote, but I want a slightly tangential point. We're talking about how we have the power to sanction Russian banks. Trudeau was using his powers just a week ago to kind of freeze the bank accounts of truckers that were messing up his public square. It really should be possible for us to exert a windfall tax, or to make a case for it that's then a case for how do we deal with the future properly. Because the thing that irritates me about everybody's discussion on this is this presumption that we'll get over COVID, or we're on a curve towards sorting out sustainable energy. We're actually moving into an era where the climate change damage is baked in. It's going to get harder as we go along, and actually the state is going to be more powerful in this than it ever was. So we're actually going to have to get...
He seems to know a lot, Doom posting, foreshadowing, I don't know, Is he a member of SAGE, perchance? Has he been in some COVID, the COVID briefings with Nicola Fidlips and the newly and improved Jason Leach, who's now equipped to tell you all there is to know about carbon emissions? I mean, he knows his stuff, allegedly. I don't know. I'm not saying to take what this guy is saying seriously or at face value or whatever. I'm saying that you have to obviously take into consideration there's a lot more coming. And there is a clip in here, I'm almost certain, that he makes reference to behavioural change and stuff. So, but we'll get to that.
Get into the idea that we need more, all parties are going to have to get, because people will need more protection from the turbulence that's coming along. Also, they also need a bit of leadership, because, I think the windfall tax solves the problem immediately because it puts money into people's pockets. But we're going to have to look at our total lifestyle, the material throughput, the stuff that's produced as we live our normal lives it's no longer sustainable. I don't think any of us are even aware, even to a tiniest amount, the profound levels of change that we're going to have to go through. Governments should be helping people through that. That's supposed to be their job.
Okay, views about...
And that aspect of it I do agree with. That is what's coming. Micromanagement. This whole transition to net zero well-being economy, namby-pamby green equitable societies, the end goal when full control is essentially implemented and they control every aspect, every faculty of every facet of your society, your life dictated for you. They will be micromanaging every aspect of what you do, and it will be justified to save the fucking planet. Or to prevent you contracting or passing on another variant, or both. Just a bit strange, don't you think? They're being told on two separate fronts from every angle when you start thinking about changing our behaviour. But there's another clip from him in here somewhere.
There's a huge cost to all this, which is important to remember. £2 billion a month it's been costing testing to provide the free test kits nationally. Are we ending this too soon?
It's not ever going to end if you listen to a variety of different climatologists and scientists.
COVID's not going to end, according to the climatologists. When I first heard that this morning, I was like, what the fuck's he talking about? Yeah, let's be myself. Fuck, man.
We are going to have to get used to living in an age of bioshocks. And those bioshocks could be another zoonotic bug, because I don't think we've solved the problems of developing world agribusiness, smashing their way through forests, releasing microbes into the human system. That's not stopped. If the bread baskets dry up and we start to get into a kind of a food crisis, that'll be another bioshock. The difficult thing for me, and this is almost a mental health question, it's certainly a mental health question for me, is I need optimism to get out of my bed in the morning. We all do, right? But I think we're going to need a lot more collective and systemic help to do that. Now, that's going to be expensive. We're going to have to look at shifting the dial of how much tax we pay, because we're going to be required to live quite different lives. I think I'm interested.
I mean, it's like foreshadowing. I mean, the guy is giving off this impression that, like, he can see what's coming, but he's not on board with it. He doesn't want it to happen. It sounds to me more like he's a fucking salesman. In many respects, he's foreshadowing. There is some truth to what he's saying, because there is going to be exponential tax hikes, etc. in the future. I mean, you're going to be essentially living in a hellscape. That is the future. That's predicted anyway. It's not the future that they're telling you we're going to be in. But then you just think the things along the lines of, you'll own nothing and be happy, you know. But think of Sustainable Development Goals. Think about Sustainable Development Goal 10, reduced inequalities on a global scale. So how do you reduce inequalities? Well, you would think if you were doing things for the betterment of the people in question, the countries in question, you would raise the ones that were struggling, you would raise them up. But raising countries up now harms the planet, essentially. You know, they can't have their industrial revolutions or their industries, etc. No, they cannot. So what will occur is they'll pull us down to the lowest common denominator in every aspect of your life. Will be micromanaged if it's not deemed a threat to the fucking planet. You know, and taxes will be through the roof, the green charges, etc. Everything. But by that point, you know, we'll all be compliant because we'll have read the expert guidance that will be published for us from Nicola Sturgeon and Jason Leach and the cuck on the left hand side there. I don't know if anybody recognises him. I'm not going to play the video. I'm going to end this video and that'll be the end of it. But that clip of Sturgeon that I found a while ago, that's done the rounds for years now on YouTube. But somebody edited the video and just wrote cuck on his forehead because he's sitting there in awe of Sturgeon essentially saying that you could have had generations of people in this country before you. They gave birth to you, and you know you're Scottish, but there's also somebody that's lived here for 6 months. You're both as Scottish as each other, and he sat there with a boner, essentially, in awe at this beautiful rhetoric that was being espoused by a woman who was literally deconstructing her fucking identity. And here he is, there. I'll credit where it's due to some of the stuff he talks about in this episode there, but his first opening comment about Putin. Speaking of, fucking hell, Russia, Jesus. And here was me saying in the stream the other day that I wasn't taking any of it seriously. Don't really know what to make about any of it, to be honest. The only reason I found out that there was anything occurring is because I seen reference to it on the question time thing, not the First Minister's questions I was watching. So fuck's sake, man. Don't know what to make of that, really. Don't really know anything about its comment, fairly. But anyway, the guy on the left-hand side, he makes reference to the fucking fact that men, it's always men, you know, male leaders meet male leaders, that type of shit, you know. And he was like going on about egotistical men and mainly men, you know. I was like, you're a man yourself, you fucking bellend. And then Sturgeon did the same thing on her First Minister's question thing as well. He made reference to the fact Putin's a man. Well, what the fuck else is he going to be like? He's only male or female. So, but you know, it's always man, you know. So it's just so, yeah. When you've got a guy like that and a woman like, alleged woman like her, saying the same sort of shit, you can kind of conclude where his politics lie. But on that note, have a good one. Peace.